Steve Cassidy here. I want to talk today about HTTP, the HTTP protocol, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is used to communicate between our web browser and the web server to request pages and get responses. So we're going to dive into HTTP and try and understand it as much as we can. I'm just looking here at my notes on HTTP, and as part of this we've got some example HTTP requests. So let's just have a quick look at these and see what the format is of the HTTP request, and then I'll just show you how to actually watch what your browser does when you make requests. So we have a request. It's a very simple protocol in a sense because it's a text-based protocol. We open a connection from the client, our local machine, our browser, to the server, and then we send a bit of text down that connection as part of a request. And the request begins always with this line here which says what we want to do. We want to get the resource slash tilde Cassidy, and HTTP 1.1 is the version of the protocol that we're going to use. And then the remaining lines in the request are these header lines. Each header line consists of a header name, host in this case, with a colon, and then the value. And here's a header name, and it's a long value, so it spans over 2 lines, and it's got a tab starting that second line, and so on down to the cookie line here, and then we finish the request header with a blank line. So we see a blank line at the end of the header, and that means that's the end of the request, and the server can now go and act on that, go and get the thing that it wants to give back to this response. And then the server will respond with another textual response where it says, okay, I found it, that's a 200 response, and then more header lines, the date, the server, accept ranges, and so on, followed by a blank line, and then after that blank line will be the thing that we asked for. So in this case, maybe a HTML page, the index of my website. So that's the basics of an HTTP request and response. Let's just have a look at how to actually look at what your browser's doing, because this is something which will really help you understand and learn about that. So I want to look at the browser's developer tools. So here I did a right click and I did inspect, which sort of took me to inspect this element, but what I really want is this network tab in the browser developer tools. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to refresh this page, and the network tab here will monitor the traffic. Once you request the page, it monitors the things that you're asking for. And so you can see here all of the requests that were made to get the things that are going to go in to make this page. So we've got our http.html, which is the resource, the main page that we requested. We did a get request for that. That didn't take very long, partly because we've already got it. I've already been here, and so it didn't go actually looking for it. It just says, yeah, I've already got it. And then the jQuery page, and you can see on the right, this is how long it took to get the various things. The thing that took the longest was this PNG, which is this image over here for the cartoon. That took a long while because it's a bit bigger, and so on. But we can have a look at each of these things here and look at the request and the response that were made. So here we see a summary version of it, which is not sort of presented nicely, but we can actually see with this view source button, we can see the request that was sent and the response that came back. And so the get request here was requesting this web/http.html, which is the URL, the part of the URL we requested. We requested pwp.stevecassidy.net/ that, and so that part is the bit that's requested, HTTP 1.1, and then all of these header lines finishing with this if modified since line comes back, and we'll detail all of those things and what they mean later. What we get back from the request is a response that says 304 not modified. That basically means it hasn't changed since you last saw it, and so here you go, these are the header lines that we get. Okay, so we can have a look at the request and the response that are sent to and from the server, and this is, I want you to do this as part of understanding this protocol. Let's just look quickly in some other browsers. If you don't have, if you're not a Chrome user, you can do the same thing in pretty much every browser now, it has its own version of the developer tools. So here I am in Safari, and I can see the network tab here, and I can refresh this page, and again I see this request and response. Now this doesn't give me, you might have to click on that little icon there, but this gives me a sort of summary version of the request and response with some of the header lines and so on. It doesn't give me the raw version, but that's still very useful to be able to see what's going on. You can see timing information there as well. It's somehow forgotten all of the, oh yeah, so you can get it to show you all the different things that were requested like that. So that's Safari, and let's jump to Firefox now. So here's Firefox. Do the same thing, inspect element. We see this thing here, we've got the network tab there, and so let's just refresh that page, and we can see all of the various things that are being requested, and here are the lines. I can see the raw headers in this case. It misses out that get line, it just puts it up here, but it's showing you all of the other parts of it. And one nice feature in Firefox, it has this button here if you want to understand what some of these headers mean, like the accept header. Click on that, it'll take you to the developer help pages, which are really quite useful, and it explains that header and what it means. We'll dive into that a little bit further. So that's just ways to have a look at the HTTP requests that are going across the wire when you request a page using your browser developer tools. We'll dive into some later videos and see what this all means, how this actually works.